Good evening, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon for our regular interaction. I would like especially to welcome some of our colleagues who have been brought here by the Indian Institute of Mass Communication. So they're all wanting to see how you guys perform. So please, as usual, be on your best behavior. That said, we have been briefing you on Prime Minister's forthcoming visits to Myanmar, to Australia, and to Fiji. This is the last of those briefings. We have here with us Secretary East and to his right, Joint Secretary South, who will today focus in the interactions on the bilateral component of Prime Minister's visit to Australia and to Fiji. As usual, we will begin with Secretary East making his opening remarks, following which the floor will be open for any questions that you may like to ask on those aspects. After that, if any of you are interested in anything else, we never send you home without responding, so we will be ready to respond to anything else that you may want to ask. With those introductory remarks, but don't forget, each one gets one question. So choose your question carefully and no second chances. With those opening remarks, I'll request Secretary East to make his opening statement and then we'll follow on. Secretary East.
Akbar, thank you very much. Dear friends, Prime Minister is to pay a bilateral visit to Australia, and that will be from 16th to 18th November 2014. That's after the G20 summit. And this will be the first Prime Ministerial visit to Australia since 1986. Also the second meeting between the two Prime Ministers this year, because as you recall, Prime Minister Abbott was here last September, and his visit saw 4 agreements which were signed on civil nuclear cooperation, sports, skills and water. The Prime Minister will have delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister Tony Abbott. He will address the Parliament in Canberra. He will have political, business and community meetings in Brisbane, also Sydney and Melbourne. And there's a dinner which will be hosted by Prime Minister Abbott in Melbourne, which will be held in the MCG. A number of agreements will be signed and announcements will be made on some new initiatives. A strong delegation of CEOs will accompany the Prime Minister to highlight the economic interests that we have between India and Australia. The Prime Minister's visit will be an important landmark in what we call re-engaging Australia and its businesses, and also Indian communities, and also to strengthen contacts in the Pacific region, which will be fortified by the visit to Fiji on the 19th of November 2014. India and Australia share a strategic partnership based on our shared beliefs. We have overlapping economic interests, especially in the resources sector and people-to-people contacts. India has grown as a factor in Australian policy making, facilitated by economic engagement, flow of skilled migrants from India, and our growing profile in the emerging Asian and global architecture. And for us too, there are growing complementarities in supply of resources, particularly energy. Our enterprises have investments and they host a growing population of persons of Indian origin, including students. Australia is a major source of coal, gold, copper, diamond, and can emerge as a source of uranium and gas. And Indian investments in the resources sector in Australia have grown over time, totaling about $10 billion US. And we have plans to invest another $16 billion in this sector. We have obtained a long-term stake for gas in the Gorgon field of Australia. The negotiations on the administrative arrangements for civil nuclear energy are proceeding smoothly, and this will open the way for trade in uranium with Australia. There is interest in Australia to engage in our mining sector. On the economic side, our trade in goods has come down a little bit last year to 12.5 billion in 2013-14 because of a deficit in the imports of commodities. And to address this, we seek to firstly conclude a mutually beneficial CECA, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, at an early date. And secondly, to hold a Make in India show in 2015 in Australia. And thirdly, to reconstitute our CEO's forum to step up economic engagement. We are also looking at greater flow of services, and that includes IT, investments, and tourism. Our political engagement has been very strong with annual summits, including in the margins of multilateral events and regular dialogue. We have close cooperation on regional issues, especially in the East Asia Summit, the G20 and IORA. And our defense cooperation is growing, and we held the first bilateral maritime exercise in 2015. We'll continue training, regular exchanges, and also R&D. And we shall also be working together on World War I commemorative events, including on Gallipoli. On security issues, we have good working relations in counterterrorism and transnational crimes. And we have finalized the text of agreement on the transfer of sentenced prisoners and an MOU on combating narcotics, which will help our common efforts. Education and science and technology are progressive areas of cooperation. The Strategic Research Fund, which has been successful in promoting joint projects, has been extended by 4 more years. And Prime Minister will visit some projects under this program in Brisbane. The water partnership has also been expanded, and we are exploring opportunities in the Ganga project. And the cooperation in mining and geology technology has also yielded favorable results. We are exploring close coordination, including collaboration for Indian School of Mines in Dhanbad with Australian partners. The flow of Indian students has picked up to over 36,000, with more going for higher education, although the majority are still in vocational training. We are promoting joint research, joint degrees, and collaboration between universities. Our IITs and IIS already have strong collaboration. Cooperation and skills training is mainly in the private sector and has been useful in upgrading levels in mining, health and hospitality, and for overseas assignments. We are exploring cooperation for a sports university and training. Australia has contributed $1 million to Nalanda University for a chair on environmental and ecology studies. Australia has launched the new Colombo plan for India to commence in 2015. The population of persons of Indian origin in Australia has grown over the years and is currently over 450,000. Last year, India contributed the largest share of technically qualified migrants to Australia. And then in this process, we also overtook China for the first time. Prime Minister will have a major event with the Indian community in Sydney, and we are establishing a cultural center also in Sydney. We plan to have a Festival of India in 2015 to step up cultural diplomacy. Prime Minister's visit will be an opportunity to deepen partnership through discussions on regional issues, expanded economic cooperation, energy security, people-to-people contacts, and engaging our diaspora. India's growth and emergence on the world stage is welcomed in Australia. I now come to Fiji. Prime Minister's visit to Fiji is taking place after a gap of 33 years. Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the last Prime Minister to visit Fiji in 1981. Prime Minister's visit is an opportunity to re-establish contacts with the new government in Fiji, express solidarity with the community, Indo-Fijian community, expand on our development cooperation program, and reach out to the Pacific community. Prime Minister's visit will have three components in Fiji: meeting with the Prime Minister and address to the Parliament, meeting with Pacific leaders, and meeting with local Fiji community. With the recent elections in Fiji, this is an opportunity to deal with Fiji as a democratic nation. Moreover, this will also give strength to our approach to deal with Fiji as the hub of the Pacific. Fiji held democratic elections on 17 September 2014, which ended the period of an interim government established by a military coup. Prime Minister Beni Rama was elected Prime Minister with a big mandate. India supported the election process by providing indelible ink and also training. And we also participated in the multilateral observer group as co-chair with Australia and with Indonesia. The multilateral observer group, in its interim report after the elections held, the elections were credible and results broadly reflected the will of the people of Fiji. India's linkages with Fiji go back to 1879, when Indian labor was brought to Fiji under the indenture system to work on sugar cane plantations. So between 1979 and 1916, around 60,000 Indians were brought to Fiji. And by early 20th century, Indian traders had also started arriving in Fiji. Our bilateral trade in 2013 was $51 million, with our exports being $49 million and imports $1.9 million. Our development assistance to Fiji is considerable. We have supported the upgradation and modernization of the sugar factories, which are the mainstay of the agricultural community. We are now embarking on a cogeneration plant to improve efficiency. Our technical assistance has improved productivity and enhanced the value of the sugar which is produced in Fiji. Fiji also looks for support in health, in education, agriculture, and in other areas. Fiji sources medicines from India and could become our hub for the Pacific. Similarly, medical facilities provided by Indian assistance at the Commonwealth Hospital, dialysis centers, and PPP hospitals by Sahyadri, and potential collaboration with Apollo is there. Our ITech program is greatly appreciated, and many students come from Fiji. Agricultural cooperation in rice, in coconut, dairy, etc. will be helpful. Similarly, we can collaborate on information technology, tourism, and solar energy. Fiji provided cooperation to India in implementing our space program and helped our monitoring team for the Mangalyaan Mars orbiter mission. The great distance from India has its own challenges. We are looking at ways to improve connectivity and also visa facilitation. This would be of great interest to other island countries in the South Pacific region who use Fiji as a hub. India and Fiji have much in common. The visit to Fiji will be an opportunity to share experiences on democracy and inclusive society in a pluralistic society setting. Fiji is the major country in the South Pacific region, where each island country has also been supporting India's candidature for a permanent seat with respect to the United Nations Security Council. The meeting of Pacific Island leaders will bring together all 14 island countries in a first ever summit with India. We hope to make this a regular process to improve dialogue and cooperation. India and the Pacific Islands share similar challenges of climate change, but also have great opportunities for cooperation in our development efforts. We have been participating in UN-related bodies as well as in the Pacific region with the island states, and we share a warm understanding with them. They look forward to our leadership role and also support for policy, development assistance, and capacity building. The meeting will help develop new initiatives and a roadmap for our joint efforts. We have an outline of a program if you want that, but I would wait for your questions and maybe then we can talk about it. Thank you.
The floor is now open for any questions that you may like to ask regarding the visit to Australia and Fiji. Yes, Vinita.
Sir, can you please elaborate on the narcotics agreement on narcotics with Australia?
As Secretary had mentioned, there are a number of agreements that we hope to conclude. The narcotics is one of them.
He wants an elaboration.
It's for collaboration in combating the flow of narcotics and psychotropic substances, to strengthen contact between the Narcotics Control Bureau of India and its counterpart in Australia, to set up nodal points. This is the kind of collaboration that we have with several other countries in the region as well.
Ashok? Here. Mr. Ashok Sharma.
Any talks likely on the issue of bringing Australia to join the India, US, Japan trilateral?
Well, this is one of the subjects that had been raised earlier as well, and I think it will come up for discussion again. We have no complete understanding as yet on what that would involve. So it's only after we talk about it, then we can have a decision on it. But I expect that it will also come up for discussions.
Indrani?
By when do we expect the administrative arrangements to be completed?
Yeah, the administrative arrangements are an ongoing process, and as you know, the negotiations on that text started after the signature of the MOU that we signed during the visit of Prime Minister Abbott. Of course, we would hope to sign it as quickly as possible, but you know, our rounds of negotiations are ongoing, and it also depends upon how quickly the principals in this case can meet. We are making good progress, and we are on track.
Suhasini?
First, if I could just request if Mr. Wadhwa's statement could be uploaded immediately and not wait for the transcript for the rest. Thanks so much. My question really is, you spoke about the India, US, Japan, Australia quadrilateral perhaps. The question really, will India's concerns over navigating the South China Sea, the freedom of navigation as well as the airspace that had come up in the visit to Washington as well, will those come up in that bilateral meeting with Mr. Abbott?
This is a subject actually for the East Asia Summit, and we are first going to have that, those meetings in Naypyidaw, after which we'll be going to Australia for the G20 and then the bilateral. So I presume that this subject would have been discussed threadbare already in Naypyidaw, where both countries are present. And I suppose, if at all the subject comes up for discussion, it will be a reiteration of those discussions, which we would have already had in Naypyidaw.
Sir, during last some years back or some months back, there were so many attacks on the Indian students, those are studying there. So is there any talk regarding this, the safeguard of the students? And is there any agreement between India and Australia so far as the education is concerned?
Yes, I think there was a phase in which there was much concern about racist attacks on Indian students in Australia. Fortunately, that phase is behind us. The incidents have tapered off almost to zero, and the Australian authorities have taken some very concrete steps to ensure that these incidents are not repeated in the future. Some neighborhood committees have been set up as well in areas which were supposed to be dangerous. And at the same time, there's been a revamp in the education system and recruitment as far as Australian universities and institutions are concerned. And all this put together has made sure that we don't face this problem any longer. So I suppose this is not an issue any longer between the two countries.
Ashwini?
So you mentioned about a CEO's delegation. Could we get some details on that? Also, is there anything like what happened in the US? Is there any meeting with industry and CEOs in Australia as well?
There are there are a number of business meetings which are being organized where Prime Minister will attend, and the business delegation will be taking part in those events. At least 4 such events are slotted for the business community from business delegation from India. And just to give you a few details, there is a meeting with Australian CEOs, first of all, which will happen in Melbourne, which will be followed by the Prime Minister's address to Australian business leaders. And in these meetings, our business delegation will be included. Also in Brisbane, there is a reception by the Premier, and in that reception, the CEOs will also be included. Also, when we go on to Melbourne, there is a civic reception which will be hosted by Prime Minister Abbott in the MCG. So for that event also the CEO's delegation will be included. But of course there is also a G20 program, and on the sidelines there is a B20 program which is being organized, and some of these CEOs will also be taking part in those sessions. So they have plenty to do.
Yes, sir.
Sir, in addition to that, I was just asking, Indian CEOs are also accompanying the PM, or only the Australian CEOs?
It is not the practice for business delegations to go with the PM. However, as the Secretary said, that they will be present in Australia, and that's where they will interact with their Australian counterparts. Yes, Gautam?
Since Prime Minister will be going to MCG for the dinner, so can we expect that this time this finalization of Don Bradman exhibition, or the schedule of that visit of the Don Bradman exhibition here in India?
There is a program which has already been determined as far as the MCG is concerned, and we expect that the trophies which are being played for between India and Australia in cricket would be on display. At the same time, there are efforts on to get some prominent cricketers who've taken part in India-Australia series from both sides to be present. And at the same time, there would be a presentation of memorabilia which would be on permanent display thereafter at the MCG. So all these steps are being taken currently, and I think most of them will be through by the time this event takes place.
Parikshit?
So you spoke about a major event that the Prime Minister will have with the Indian community in Sydney. Could you share more details about that, what this event is going to be like?
Well, we have, this would be an event in the All Phones area in the Olympic Park, and we expect at least 15,000 people to be present according to the organizers. The organization of this event is in the hands of the Indian community which lives in Australia. So we don't have all the details with us, but we know that it's going to be an event with at least 1.5 hours devoted to it. And of course, there would be a speech by the Prime Minister. There would be also some speeches by others. And at the same time, there would be presence of local politicians in this event, both from Australia and perhaps from outside as well. So those details has not been shared with us so far. But this is all I have at the moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, is it possible to expand at all on any of the agreements that will be signed, or if not, just outline what Prime Minister Modi's top priorities are in terms of the tangible things he wants to get from the Australian government and or business leaders during the visit, or is it just more of a meet and greet again?
Give us 1 minute while, I can take another question meanwhile we get back to you.
Somebody else will get back to you. Yes, Parul.
She just asked about the agreements that could be in the offing. Is there anything on smart cities tie-up, anything that we're looking at with an Australian city during the PM's visit?
Let me just quickly run through what are the likely agreements. One is, as I mentioned, the agreement on transfer of sentenced prisoners, the MOU on narcotics, a social security agreement, an MOU possibly on tourism, an MOU on cultural cooperation. And of course, as far as the initiatives are concerned, we will be announcing a Festival of India in 2015, a Made in India show in 2015, the revamping of the CEO's Forum, the organization of a tourism week. And to answer your question about smart cities, well, that cooperation with Australia is already ongoing. And we have had some ideas which have already been exchanged. So on this visit, we'll perhaps elaborate on that concept further. But along with smart cities, there's also, as I said, there is an intention to take our talks on technology transfer, improvement of mining technology further, and at the same time to see if we can also have announcements related to security cooperation in different fields. So that will depend on the talks that we have, and it will be then reflected accordingly in the joint communique.
Nilova?
What is the level of investments in each other's countries at this point of time? The actual levels of investments and what is being planned in terms of hiking those if possible?
As I said, our investment figure is about $11 billion in Australia, and another $15 billion which is in the pipeline, especially in the mining sector. The Australian investments in India are low in comparison, $600 million.
If you have no further questions on this, then we can address some other questions. Yes. Yes, Arthur. Just a minute, we'll get them.
Sir, could you confirm if there were any talks between Prime Minister Modi and Sri Lankan President Rajapaksa on the issue of sentencing of fishermen and their transfer to India?
The issue of the 5 Indian fishermen who have been sentenced by a lower court in Sri Lanka is a matter on which we place very high priority. It is also a matter on which we are exploring a variety of avenues to ensure that those citizens of India return to India safely. These avenues are being pursued in accordance with the Sri Lankan legal system and the Sri Lankan executive's role in the process. At this stage, we have not reached a conclusion on the avenues that we are proceeding forward with. It is a delicate matter. It is a matter which is ongoing, and we are pursuing to the best of our abilities. And therefore, I would hate to tell you anything about a situation which is so delicate that it could adversely impinge on anything you or I say. So that's where we are on it. I can confirm to you that we are pursuing it very diligently. We are pursuing all avenues. We are pursuing it to the best of our ability. And we haven't reached a situation or a stage where we could say that this has reached a happy conclusion. And therefore, please provide us that time and space where we can pursue this and reach a conclusion that we can share with all of you for a happy ending to this difficult situation. Yes, sir.
सर, प्राइम मिनिस्टर के फिजी से लौटने के बाद और काठमांडू जाने से पहले सिर्फ 4 या 5 दिन का फासला रहेगा, सिर्फ इतने कम दिन बचेंगे। मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि सर क्या काठमांडू में प्राइम मिनिस्टर नवाज शरीफ से बातचीत की कोई संभावना है, या हम अभी उसी जंक्चर पे हैं कि फॉरेन सेक्रेटरीज की बातचीत नहीं हुई इसलिए दोनों प्रधानमंत्रियों की बातचीत नहीं होगी काठमांडू में?
देखिए, ये तो आपका फेवरेट सवाल है और मैं जानता हूं कि जब भी मैं आता हूं ये सवाल आप करते हैं और मेरा जवाब मैं हर बार थोड़ी सी बदल कर देता हूं, लेकिन आप तो वही सवाल पूछते हैं। और इस सवाल का जवाब ये है कि देखिए, आज और काठमांडू की मीटिंग में, काठमांडू's मीटिंग इज अबाउट सार्क and that meeting is approximately 16 days away. As they say in politics, a week is a long time. And in India-Pakistan relations, 2 weeks plus is a very, very long time. You have heard our leaders talk about paving the path towards a process. If the path is paved, perhaps I can share with you some more details. At this stage, you have heard even yesterday responses from our side. So at this stage, all I can share with you is that we remain committed to paving a path. But for that path to be paved, you have to provide, you have to have a situation that will promote a path to be paved. We haven't reached that stage as yet. Should we reach that stage, I will be happy to share extra information with you. Yes, Srinjoy?
Sir, I know it's very delicate and you're trying your best to sort of get somewhere. But since a tweet has already been made, sir, just can you tell us one way or the other if Prime Minister spoke to the President of Sri Lanka?
Srinjoy, sometimes you ask me to respond to voices from the wilderness. Sometimes you ask me to respond to tweets. If I have to respond to tweets, I have a Twitter account, and I would respond to that. I have gone and explained to you at length what the situation is. The situation does not warrant a tweet from me at this stage. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, regarding the G20, if there is already some bilateral meeting at the side of G20, specifically regarding Italy. Thanks.
Well, Maria, I have some news for you, and that is that we have finalized some bilateral meetings at the G20. Those meetings I will share with you now. These are with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. David Cameron, the President of France, Mr. Francois Hollande, the Prime Minister of Canada, Right Honorable Stephen Harper, the Chancellor of Germany, Ms. Angela Merkel, and the Prime Minister of Spain, Mr. Mariano Rajoy. We are still in a juggling act. As I mentioned to you, there are still slots available. We are working on that, and if we are able to work out timings which are common to everybody, we will have. In addition to these, I may also add that it is usual for all the BRICS countries to have an informal meeting. And therefore, Prime Minister will be meeting his counterparts from all the BRICS countries in an informal get-together at Brisbane. However, this is not the final list. This is the list as it exists today. There are several more days to go, and we still have some slots which we are juggling with. We will provide that information once we can get confirmation from everybody on what the final list looks like. This is the list as it looks like for G20 now. For additional meetings, yes, sir? No, you finish yours. Yes, no, not a question, then no. Anyone else has a question? These are occasions for questions. Yes, ma'am.
Is the Indian High Commission appealing in Sri Lanka's Supreme Court with regard to the fishermen's issue today or tomorrow?
I can tell you that the Indian High Commission has got the judgment from the Sri Lankan lower court. This judgment is more than 200 pages long, lengthy. It is in Sinhalese. The lawyers are looking at it. The Indian High Commission has approached some of the best legal brains in Sri Lanka to have a look at it, and they are examining what would be the best avenue to proceed to ensure that those 5 Indian nationals who are fishermen and against whom a judgment has been decreed can be brought back home safely. What is the best process? This is a work in progress, and once it is finalized, as I said to you, please give us that time. There is still time for an appeal, and we will do everything possible to ensure the return of those 5 Indian fishermen in accordance with Sri Lanka's legal and executive processes. Yes, sir.
It's a question again on bilateral meetings with Prime Minister.
Sure.
So with the Chinese President, what are the possibilities?
Well, I think I will go more than what you've asked for. I told you that the Prime Minister will be meeting the Chinese, all his BRICS partners in an informal BRICS meeting at the G20. So the meeting with the Chinese President will be in an informal setting at the G20. However, I will also answer the question that you did not ask, and that is the Prime Minister will also be meeting his Chinese counterpart, Premier Li Keqiang, at Naypyidaw. So he will be meeting both the Prime Minister of China as well as the President of China. The meeting at Naypyidaw is the most structured one, with delegations being together. The meeting in Brisbane is an informal BRICS meetings where all the heads of state meet along with their delegations. I am certain there will be opportunities for Prime Minister to discuss and meet President Xi Jinping there too. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Manas?
Sir, as we have already approached Sri Lankan authorities about the fishermen issue, in fact, what has been Sri Lanka's response? Is it positive? Or, I mean, what is their stand, in fact? I mean, has they communicated anything to you? Is it positive signal?
You know, India and Sri Lanka have extremely cordial relations. We have a relationship where we are in regular touch with each other. We have a relationship in which both of us understand each other's requirements, needs and concerns. And therefore, we understand each other well, we work well with each other, and you can be assured that any effort that we make with our good friends in Sri Lanka is always reciprocated positively. Anything else? If not, we will call it a day today, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon. Thank you.